Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on mobile testing. Sorry for the couple of minutes delay there, and thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. My name is Carina. I'm part of the marketing team here at Electric Software. Now we all know and have experienced great mobile applications which transform how we go about our day-to-day lives. Just think of the Starbucks mobile application, for example, which customers already use more than 7 million times every week to purchase their coffee. But developing great mobile applications is tough, and the potential negative consequences for your company, and particularly your brand, can be immediate and brutal when your application is savaged in the application store. Testing is therefore absolutely critical in developing mobile applications. So today I'm joined by Valdez's mobile testing experts, Carina Valdez and Liliana Manrique, to discuss the challenges involved and the key strategies you need to employ to create great mobile applications. Carina has more than 12 years of experience with mobile testing. Back in 2007, she started leading quality assurance projects here at Electric and is a certified Scrum Master. Since 2011, she's been focused on mobile device testing, particularly on iOS. Liliana, meanwhile, started working in quality assurance in 2011 and has experience with a wide range of web and mobile projects. For the past 2 years, she's been part of Electric's mobile testing team focusing on iOS. So with that, I want to hand it over to Carina and Liliana to discuss why is mobile testing today so important and what are some of the key strategies we need to be employing.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon again. I'm going to start with today's topic, mobile testing. Smartphones are quickly becoming the primary method of interaction for consumers and businesses worldwide. So, what does the stake? Just the future of your businesses. As you can see, the chart displays the amount of devices connected from 2012 to 2017. The devices are desktop PC, portable PC, smartphone, and tablets. If you compare 2012 and 2015, connected devices are duplicated quickly. For the next years, we hope that these values increase. Well, the explosion of consumer application can be seen in just about every industry, but there are, here there are a few of the more notable ones. Well, there are some areas as retail, organization intelligence, mobile commerce, media, magazines and newspapers going 100% digital, travel, mobile bookings, check-ins, maps, deal, etc. About education, tablets and application in classrooms, healthcare, patient records and physical notes, and etc. About the finance, application for real-time trading and portfolio analysis. And the last, social games and social media platform. Well, this is all for the introduction. Now, Carina going to talk about the challenges of testing application.
Okay, thank you, Liliana. Good afternoon. Well, now we have been focused on the importance of testing applications and the challenges that we have here. Testing mobile application is quite different and more complex than testing traditional desktop and web applications. We have to consider many different items. Mobile applications need to be tested in a variety of software platforms and versions, in a variety of hardware, in different network connectivity too. Also, we have to take account the new devices. At least there are one new per year. Frequent operating system updates. At least there are one per year. And the customer expectation and quick upgrades that all of that require additional test cycles. The majority of desktop applications need to be tested on a single dominant platform, which is Windows. But the lack of similar dominant platform for mobile applications results in many being developed and tested on Android and iOS. And sometimes the application is developed for more platforms. Could be, for example, with the phone. The first thing that we have to check is the device diversity in a special device diversity. We have to consider, for example, the tablets and smartphone. The application will include both, that's in one. In the case that the application should be one in tablet and smartphone, we need to consider the different models. The diversity device is huge. If we just focus, for example, in Android, the official devices include over 60 devices. It's really a lot. That's why it's important that to have a comprehensive mobile application testing strategy. This is quite important to get on the market application on time and without any issue. Also, mobile applications operate in a unique environment where application behavior can be affected by changes in network conditions. Here we have to consider the change in the bandwidth, drop conditions, etc. And the alert, the notification, as well as the touch screen responsive. This unique environment requires additional testing to ensure accepted application behavior in real-world conditions. Below, we review some different scenarios that QA needs to include in the test plan. First one is the environment, the applications, the users, the device, and the network. Okay, we'll start seeing each of one. And for that, Liliana will start with the environment.
Okay. Well, about the challenges from the environment perspective, it's necessary to understand and prioritize some tips. For example, targeted devices. It's necessary to prepare the list of targeted devices that QA will need to test. QA should ensure that the application works as expected in the devices defined. About updating to frequent operative system. Over time appear new version of operative system. For example, for Apple, the last is iOS 8. And for Android is Android 5.0 called Lollipop. QA team need to ensure that the application works smoothly after the operative system update. For example, QA can execute a small test to verify that there are inconsistencies using different operative systems. About the efficient use of gesture of device controls, the team needs to know some features of the different devices. For example, a smartphone with Android doesn't have a physical button or real button, but devices that use iOS as iPhone and iPad has a real button called Home. About the gesture, it's important to use gesture to do something in the application. For example, you need to do tap or double tap, or maybe you can zoom in a picture. So, therefore, the gestures are very important. Well, another tips about this are keeping simple and easy for navigation. In this case, user can be able to use the application easily, or the application should be displayed clear and easy to read. and the possibility to scroll the screen to see all data when the user has a smartphone with a small screen. Another is accommodating maximum functionality in the mobile application. In this case, QA needs to know about keep the menus simple and easy to access, about the usability. Another perspective is the connectivity. In this case, QA needs to test with bad or good Wi-Fi. And finally, the policies and guidelines. In this case, QA needs to know the policies and guidelines of the distributor. For example, under Play Market, and Apple Application Store, and others. Well, this concludes with the user perspective environment. Now, Carina, continue with the testing scope.
Okay. As Lily mentioned, the different challenges from different perspectives. That's the perspective we need to take about while we prepare the test strategy. Also, during the testing, we need to include the user settings. For example, if our application needs to check the email, we have to check if the user has and hasn't, do not have, the email account set. For example, if we need to work with different alerts, we need to check that, the time zone, etc. Another item that we need to check is the interruptions, because mobile applications are multitasking, so we need to check how the application works when, for example, a call is incoming, what happens if we answer or we drop, if we receive a message, an application alert, and, for example, the message for the low battery alert. This is very important to test, especially before the application will be to the marketplace. Another topic is the future of your applications. We need to check if the application adapts, for example, for the different orientation, landscape or portrait. We need to check the applications and see the application works as expected. For the configurations for the different settings, and also if the application supports multilingual. If the application supports the multilingual session, we need to check localization. In this case, we need to set the application in the language that we need to check, and test, and first install the application and install the application, and test, for example, with language words, special characters, the point as decimal or the thousands, and etc. Another important topic is the real connections. We have to check how the application works with when it's connected with the Wi-Fi, 3G, Edge, 4G, etc. And the last one is the policies and guidelines. For example, for marketplace, for Apple Marketplace, we have here a very important and long guidelines that dev and QA need to know, because if the application doesn't apply this, the application will not be released. Okay, the next topic is about mobile test strategy. We need, as QA lead, work with the team and especially with the product owner to define which will be our strategy. The first step that we need to do is define the different combination of operating systems and the version and the different devices. We have to consider here if we have real devices, how many do we need? If we don't have the possibility to work with real devices, if we work with emulator or simulator, and according with that, we have to define the matrix that we will test. Imagine that we have to, our application is in Android and iOS, and we have to test in both platforms. It's impossible to cover all the different devices and also the different operating system versions. That's why it's important to define with the product owner the matrix that we will cover as QA. Another important factor is the functionality testing. That here is to check that the application works as expected, with the usability and UI, that the application looks good and apply all the guidelines and policies that iOS has. And the other important topic to include in the test strategy is the network connection. We have to set here test when we test the functionality, check with Wi-Fi, and then set the tool that we will use to simulate the different connectivity and the network connections. Another topic is the localization, that as mentioned before, we need to set the different language and test all applications to check how it works, that all messages are translated, and especially the alerts and warning message. Another topic is performance testing. We need to check if we will cover, if we will use any special tools for that. And also the accessibility and security testing. And the same, if we use a tool to check that, or how we will cover. And the interruption, that as we mentioned earlier, is very, very important, because we need the application will not work enough, that it will work with another applications and with code. And the last one is the test automation. We need to define if we will cover this one. In case we can do it and automate our application, we need to select an effective test tool and try to maximize the usage to reduce the cost of the regression testing. Okay, next we will check some tips that we need to take in consideration when we check our applications. For example, sign in, login and log out. If our application needs the login, we have to pay close attention to the fields and make sure that it's easy for the user to enter their information. Another tip is the menu options. Often these items, like help, about, are difficult to access. So it's important that they are easy to find and navigate for the users. Another tip is the keys. Any problem related to scrolling, list selection, back button, etc. are bound to lead to trouble. So we have to make sure the key functionality is clear and consistent. Another important tip is that handling. Here we have to check what happened with the mobile application. If the store save information properly, if the store this information in the smartphone, or save this information in an API, etc. Another topic is regarding to connection speed and carrier. We have to make sure that the most basic application has been tested on some of the most popular carriers, because the performance can change a lot from one carrier to another. Another topic is the operating systems. For some operating systems, like for example Android, we don't have the possibility to test across all the combinations. And for that reason, we need to select at least 3, 4, 5, the most popular, and test accordingly. And the other topic is the screen size. because here we have to test first in the smartphone that has the smallest screen size, because all the changes have been applied for the latest changes for the latest smartphone that used to be bigger. So the first testing that we need to do is in the small phone to check the UI of the application, that everything looks correct. And we try to cover this testing in all screen size that we can. Other one that we already mentioned is the interruption. That's how the application works with all the interruptions. And the last one for functionality is the error messages. The error message should be clear, consistent, and should be the same for all the applications. Okay, the next is some tips, but for load and performance issues.
Okay, thanks, Carina. Load and performance testing are critical steps in the successful launch of a mobile application. For example, if you have an application that works with data requests every, 30 seconds, sometimes application crashes when the values are not updated or when they use bad Wi-Fi. In general, the application must be tested with different devices or depending the environment or real situation. Another common kind of issue is security issues. In this case, we can do some questions to verify the security. For example, confidentially, does your application give you private data? Integrity, can the data from your application be trusted and verified? Update about authentication, does your application verify you are who you say you are? Authorization, does your application properly limit use privileges? About the availability, can take the application offline? And the last, not reputation. Does your application keep records of events? Well, another kind of issue is about localization. In this case, a mobile application requires your product to be accessible and contextual for users in all markets and countries. This is a difficult work to verify. The QA or localization team need to verify some things. For example, the content, static and dynamic content as search result or metadata. Another is date, maybe the date could be January 1st or 1st January. About the characters, different languages have different characters or symbols. About postal codes, phone numbers, direction. Some languages are written left to right or another as right to left. Currency conversion. And the last, tax calculation. Well, this is all for the common issues. Now, Carina, continue with the sum up.
Okay, just to sum up and conclusion this webinar, we have been seeing that there are many challenges in mobile application testing. an optimal selection of target devices, and using a mix of simulator and physical devices can maximize test coverage without the need to test every feature on each device. The use of Wi-Fi network for the majority of testing in combination with network simulation tools can reduce the cost and complexity of testing on various cellular networks. We have to combine the solution to mobile-specific aspects of application testing with traditional best practice, and testing processes can effectively address the challenges of mobile application testing. Here there are some guidelines that we mentioned to check the testing. Have an understanding of network and device landscape before you begin the actual testing. Simulate the real-world mobile and web mobile to the greatest possible extent. Select the right automation tool. If we can do it, try to check that this tool should support multiple platforms, various testing types, also support end-to-end testing, and if necessary to connect to third party. The script maintenance should be simple, and the learning curve should be easy. Also use carefully the Matrix platform for testing the combination of different devices. And the last two is QA. We need to check that the application is fast, and the backend services performance should be optimized. Well, that's all. I hope this webinar should be useful for us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carina and Liliana. It's been fascinating to hear everything about that. With that, I know we're used up almost the full half hour, but we're happy to stay on the line for a few more minutes to see if there are any questions from any of the attendees on the field. Just whilst we're waiting to see if there are any additional questions, listening to that, I have a couple of questions of my own. First one would be, do you use a simulator or emulator or real devices for testing here at Valdez?
Well, in this case, we use real devices because it's better to find issues or defects. And if you use a simulator or emulator, it's possible that you won't find a specific defect.
Mm-hmm. And is there any particular automation tool that you use?
Okay, currently in one of the products we are using Manrique. It's a multi-platform, but we are using for iOS. There are another tools, but we are using this one. For us, it's very useful.
Interesting. Now, actually, we have just one question coming in on the WebEx and it's a question from one attendee asking, how many QAs are typically in a testing team?
Well, if the team has 3 developers, maybe it's necessary has 2 QA.
It depends for mobile applications. It depends on how many devices and platforms do you need to test. If you need to test, for example, iOS and Android, and you have, I don't know, 4 developers or more, probably you will need 3 or 4 QA. That one focus on iOS and the other in Android.
Okay, thank you. And I see that we don't have any additional questions now, so with that I know we're slightly over the time today, but thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. The recording and the slides will of course be made available to you to download, and in case you didn't get a chance to ask any questions today, then feel free to reach out to us here at Valdez. Thank you everyone and have a good day.